Howdy, folks. Welcome to Redneck Gone Green. I'm your host, David Cobb. I am the redneck. You bet I've gone green, and I'm trying to get you to do it too. And as a reminder, as we do on this program every week, when we say go green, we're not talking about mere environmentalism. We're talking about the deep interconnectedness of all of life. And whether you come at that from a hard science perspective or you come at that from a deep eco-spiritual feminist perspective, or like me, you say those are perfectly valid ways to see the world, I'm here to tell you, anything that we do to this web of life, we are ultimately doing to ourselves. And let's just be real, y'all, we doing it wrong. We are literally destroying and commodifying Mother Earth faster than she can replenish herself. And as if that's not bad enough, we creating a racist, sexist, and class oppressive society with the plunder. And with that cheery note, let's bring on our pal Shane Knight.
How you doing, David?
How you doing, brother?
And I'm all right. It was good to see you this weekend.
I know. Let's say, hey, y'all, guess what? The Redneck is in New York City right now. And that's where Shane is. Hey, man, I had me an actual New York City bagel with cream cheese.
Where?
Wherever it was that Rebecca Lurie took me to tell you the damn truth, right? So
well, then I'm sure it was original and authentic.
It was good stuff, man. It was great to see you and Professor Rick Wolf and Jason, who, and for those of you who don't know, Jason Butler and Shane Knight are basically keeping this whole Democracy at Work platform on the air. Of course, Redneck Gone Green is our own program. We're responsible for all of the content, but the platform that's allowing us to build it out and for you to be either watching us live now, watching a video, listening to us on audio. The reality is we are a program on Democracy at Work, and we got some good stuff cooking up, don't we, Shane?
We do. We do. We've just had a really fantastic turnout at an event that we had this weekend in conjunction with, I'll forget the entire list of people that we had collaborated with over this weekend, but it was a fabulous turnout. I want to thank everybody watching that may have been there. Thanks for coming, and I hope you got something great out of it.
We sure did. It was a fantastic. And I'm here to tell y'all, I'm really excited because Democracy at Work sent a videographer out, and really shout out to Brian for that. He showed up, recorded the thing. I know that y'all are going to play with the video a little bit and get it up and going and get it out there. And fingers crossed, we might actually be able to get a dubbed Spanish language version of it as well.
That's what we're working towards.
Look at here, Shane. Now, normally at this time, our good friend Milicia Figueroa would be showing us a video of Tracking the Crisis, but her voice is out, but she didn't leave us hanging, did she?
No, she did not.
She gave us something, and I got to say, with Ron Placone, our current guest, I almost feel like this is a better job. Sad that Mel's voice is out, but she kind of set us up for Ron, didn't she?
I think she did, and she did a great job of saying, basically, here is a summation of what she was going to discuss in her video in more of a comedic form.
Hit it, Shane.
Well, there we
President
go.
Trump will end the radical left's reign of terror in Portland once and for all.
You look at Portland and you see fires all over the place. You see fights and, just violence.
This network of Antifa is just as sophisticated as MS-13, as TDA, as ISIS, as Hezbollah, as Hamas, as all of them. They are just as dangerous. They have an agenda to destroy us, just like the other terrorists we've dealt with for many, many years.
When ICE officers have to street battle against Antifa,
hand-to-hand combat
every night to come and go from their building.
Slide to the left. Slide to the right. Crisscross.
You look at what's happened with Portland over the years. It's a burning hellhole.
President Trump will end.
I gotta say, man. I mean, as somebody like, I guess voodoo donuts is a really scary thing for the right wing fascist in Washington D.C. Huh, Shane?
I guess they seem to think that I don't know, a frog suit is equivalent to carrying a bazooka or an anti-aircraft weapon. I don't get it at all.
Well, I
I
gotta
don't get
say
it.
this for those of you who follow the 4chan nonsense that happens with Pepe the Frog and so forth, we'll see your Pepe and double down with Antifa Frog. Well, look
Well,
at
they
here,
were
man.
talking about too what they were doing in Chicago, but
Listen, I hopefully we'll get to that and more, but I'm really raring to get into our guest because I feel like we've got a real setup for Ron Placone, who is somebody that I've been following for a minute, and I hope others have as well. Ron Placone is a political comedian, but he's also an insightful writer and filmmaker. He's a podcaster. He uses humor to challenge corporate power, expose hypocrisy. Ron Placone, welcome to Redneck Gone Green.
What's up, y'all? Which, by the way, shout out to everyone who uses y'all. It is a perfect word. It is absolutely. I mean, David, I don't know if you knew this about me. I actually didn't know that you. Where are you from originally?
I'm originally from Texas.
Okay, so I didn't even know
get
that.
this, Ron. My mama's people are from Louisiana. My daddy's people are from Georgia. I grew up in rural Texas. I got the South on lock, son.
No, you definitely do, man. I do not have the South on lock in comparison, but I do have some family in South Carolina, and I lived in Nashville for a couple years. So I know the joy of the word y'all. It is perfect. It is all inclusive. It is convenient, and I still use it. And sometimes people just they're not off put by it. They're just a bit confused because maybe I don't have the accent for it. But I totally use y'all all the time. Unironically, it's a perfect word. We should all be using
Let me
it.
just thank you. And Ruthie, my wife and life partner, can tell you I make this case all the time. Y'all is a gender neutral pronoun that you can use at any time. It's inclusive. It's much better than you guys. It's like I'm for it. And the other thing I'm just going to say straight up, Ron, like, can y'all give the South something? I mean, you know, like we got our share of the cross burning and the racism and the homophobia. Like, give us y'all, like, give us some props.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I am so much, and it's not just because, you know, I mean, I spent years as a road comic, so I've been all over the country, and the American South is just so instrumental in just the cultural output within the United States. I mean, the contributions to music, contributions to everything, you name it. I mean, and it was interesting for me when I came out to LA, like I would I lived in Silver Lake when I first got here, and some of the stuff that was going on there that was, oh man, this is really cutting edge and hip. I'm like, this was going on in Nashville like 3 or 4 years ago. Like, you guys are catching up. I think there's a lot of instances where the American South, you know, sets the tone. And yes, there are problems as well, and we could go on about that for a very long time. But there's also a lot of beauty in it, and I've always been that guy where it's like, yeah, I don't generalize, you know, just based on my aunt, who passed away recently. She lived in South Carolina her whole life, and you know, she was heart's in the right place, well-intentioned lady, and she said like this really beautiful thing that my cousin, her daughter-in-law, like kind of quoted at her death, where she had just like casted her ballot, and she was a progressive minded person, you know, reasonably so, and she I'm hosting by myself. I'm here alone. I didn't know this was gonna happen. That was intimidating. But she said, you know, when I vote, I usually don't pick a winner, but that's not why I vote. I vote because I want there to be a record. I want people to know that just because we're the South, we don't all think the same. And I just thought that was really beautiful.
I love that, Ron. One of the things, and as you know, I ran for president of the United States on the Green Party ticket. I managed the Jill Stein and Jamu Baraka campaign. I'm a proud, unapologetic Green. But what I tell people is when I cast my ballot, what I am doing is expressing my opinion, and that's what others are. So if you're holding your nose and voting for the lesser evil, you're really not helping matters, right? Like if you really think, like you should just express your opinion. Your one vote is not, you're not being asked to, you must make the decision. All your vote is doing is reflecting your opinion. And if you were censoring yourself, and I don't need to tell a comic the danger of censoring yourself, if you're censoring yourself in expressing your opinion, you really messing up. The other thing I want to do is bring Shane into the conversation, Ron, because Shane's got a little Southern heritage himself, don't you, Shane Knight?
Yeah, just a wee bit.
Where are you from, boy?
Well, I was born in New Orleans, and I grew up in Mississippi in the backwoods of middle of nowhere, running around barefoot through the swamp, like the old adage goes. But yeah, that's where my roots were. All my family still lives down there. Well, what's left of them still live in Mississippi.
I want to
So get Ron.
Oh,
you
sorry.
made a reference, you've traveled all over. And one of the phrases that I've heard you self-describe, which I just love, and I will say the promo reel for you being a, quote, joke-slinging vagabond did very well with this audience.
Oh,
So
cool.
Did you, is that your turn of the phrase?
As far as I know, I mean, I don't know. I just thought it was like a fun way. I mean, it's just a way more fun phrase than traveling comedian. I mean, that's pretty generic. So yeah, I just thought joke slinging vagabond. That's accurate. And yeah.
It's interesting too, because you're both a stand-up comic, you're a filmmaker, but you also you have a podcast. I guess what I'm getting at is you are creating a lot of content in a lot of different ways, both pre-produced, filmmaking, podcasting. You're also doing live work. So to me, I want to really get into, but all of your stuff is at its core comedic, right? So you make people laugh and you try to make people think. So why do you think comedy is hitting differently when it's rooted in the kind of hard truth that you do?
Well, I mean, I don't know if it necessarily hits differently or not. I mean, comedy itself has, a pretty rich tradition and, speaking truth to power. I think that's what it's supposed to do. And that's what attracted me to it. I was a lot of times in this space, people ask, oh, when did you start being political? And for me, it's just always been there because I was into politics before I got into comedy. Like I was into politics and activism and media, when I was in college, because Iraq was going on. I didn't understand why we were there. So I started asking more questions and reading more books and learning, and that radicalized me. And then I listened to people like Bill Hicks, and that was what really pushed me to wanting to try comedy, Bill Hicks, George Carlin, that kind of thing. So for me, it's always just been there. So I don't have anything else to compare it to as far as like my output goes. That doesn't mean every single joke I write is political. Of course it's not. There's more to my life than that. If you come to a Ron Placone show and I'm doing an hour, you're going to hear about cats. You're going to hear about music. You're going to hear about marriage. It's not just going to be nothing but politics, but that politics part is going to be sprinkled throughout a good bit. So
I got to say, Ron, first of all, as a Texan, we talking about what the South has to offer. Thank you for lifting up Bill Hicks. I mean, George Carlin is in the pantheon. George Carlin deserves it, but George Carlin is also a lot better known. One of the things that I found interesting is, especially for younger comics, at least in my experience, Ron, almost everybody will reference or mention or give a hat tip to Bill Hicks. Bill Hicks really inspired your generation, didn't he?
Big time, dude. And even beyond so my generation, we were too young to have ever seen Bill live. Like I think I was maybe 7 years old when Bill passed. So I did not get an opportunity. But then the generation before us, or just people who are like our peers but are a little older, they were just old enough to have seen him. And in the comedy community, I can't think of one person that saw Bill Hicks and didn't go, okay, this is how you do this. This is the best there will ever be. He was just on a different freaking planet, and I never got to see him live. Videos, like online footage is the closest I'll get, but he was just incredible and just so ahead of his time, and I think had so much more to give, and I love Carlin a ton, but people argue that like Carlin, it was watching some of Bill Hicks that really lit a fire under Carlin, because Carlin, you know, jamming in New York, Bill Hicks, like right before jamming in New York came out, was really hard against the war. And this was the first Iraq war that was, for unfortunately so, was actually a very popular war in the United States. And here Bill Hicks is playing comedy clubs, calling out this war for like half of his show, and it was freaking beautiful.
Fearless is the word.
Fearless.
Right? Fearless.
Fearless. And, George Carlin, I mean, maybe that lit a fire, maybe it did, but George Carlin then went and jamming in New York. He did 20 minutes opening that special, calling out one of the most quote unquote popular wars, which, by the way, it's really sick that that's even an appropriate phrase in
Right.
United States vernacular, but calling out a war that a lot of Americans were okay with. He called it out for like 20 minutes, and it was just, fearless, beautiful. And those guys were trailblazers.
So Ron, I do want to take a step back and actually try to get into like your own sort of childhood. Like, were you always a funny kid? Were you mostly like when did you know, like, hey, I can make people laugh and I want to do this?
Well, I get all my material from the Talking Cat. I wanted to shout
Yeah,
out
no,
the comments.
you've got fans, right? Like,
Yeah. Well, Lucy, I'm sure if anyone here follows me, they do know that Lucy, unfortunately, did pass away a couple months ago. But we got two new kittens, Luna and Livorno, and they are just bundles of joy. But to answer your question, I did theater when I was a kid. I did theater in grade school, and I got really into Shakespeare because I had a good teacher who taught me properly, like really taught Shakespeare. And I also noticed pretty early on that I was really into comedy. And so I preferred like that. Like, I just preferred doing comedies and what have you. And then when I got into high school, like I got really into punk rock, and that sort of took front and center of just my life in general. And then it kind of came more full circle when I went to after college, actually, because I was doing radio at that point, and then eventually got into comedy.
It's interesting. I'm glad that you used the phrase theater kid, because my wife and partner Ruthie taught theater, and we're junior high school sweethearts, Ron.
No kidding.
Yeah,
Wow.
how about that? Like,
that
so
is.
she's a theater kid, and she often says a lot of smart things. But one of the things that I want to lift up now is two things. One, she says, if you really want to get shit done without knowing where the material is coming from, how to do it, get theater kids involved. Theater kids know how to take nothing and turn it into something. The other thing that she says is the world should be run by stage managers and librarians.
Oh, no kidding. I mean, I'll tell you this, and Ruthie might appreciate this. I did theater in high school, and then I kind of got away from it as I grew older, just got into other things. Then, stand up was front and center for a long time. Then I came here to LA and got more into like writing and production and what have you. I got recently, I had a play run at the Hollywood Fringe Festival, and it was technically the first time I did theater since senior year of high school. And I wrote this play. We got it produced. It calls out the American healthcare system. And it did very well on the Fringe circuit.
Is this the termination fee?
Termination fee. Yeah. We sold out 60% of the run. We got nominated for an award. It was really freaking cool. And those stage managers do not F around. They run a tight ship of a tight ship of a tight ship, and just hundreds of shows going on in the heart of Hollywood. And it just ran like clockwork, man. There was no time wasted for the entire 2 weeks of June when it is. And it's a beautiful thing. So I recaptured my love of live theater that I never really lost. I just sort of, didn't get to embrace for a long time. But it was really, I love writing scripts, and I love, making I love making films. It's an amazing process. But I kind of feel like in many ways, from my perspective, especially, live theater is sort of the best of both worlds, where you get to, see dialogue that you have written and that you have created, but you get the instantaneous feedback that you get from stand up. So it was amazing to do Termination Fee in front of a live audience, and hear the parts that they were laughing at, and hear, the things connect with an audience, and wait for the laughter to die down, which is like stand up. But it's also still dialogue that you wrote and you rehearsed. It's a special thing. And then when we filmed the film version of it, because it's going to be a movie too, when we filmed it, there were times in between takes where we're like, oh man, it's not the same without an audience here.
Well, it's
So,
interesting too, because the format of comedy, right? And then stand up versus stage versus film. But let's take it back from the court jesters of medieval Europe, who talked and spoke to the king in ways that nobody else could, the political satire of Mark Twain, up to Will Rogers. I would argue that comedy has often been a people's tool for truth telling and liberation. And then, like, we can think about Charlie Chaplin and the film The Great Dictator. Like, we can think about Dave Chappelle. We can think about The Daily Show. There's something at its heart that comedy can be incredible ways of expressing not just criticism, but real dissent. Am I going too far here, Ron, or do you see that same kind of ability with comedy?
yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. I think, and I'm kind of paraphrasing here, but I think that comedy doesn't necessarily bring about change all on its own, but it does help facilitate such a thing, or it can. It can be something that helps motivate a movement, that helps, keep a movement going, that helps inspire a movement. And I think in the day-to-day sense, it's also just a really good opportunity for people to feel a little less alone. When I tour these days, I'll meet a lot of people who are like-minded people who may or may not know each other. And then they get to come together and they get to laugh about the things that's on their mind, a lot of the time, that they maybe can't say out loud often. But here they are in a room of like-minded people laughing at these similar things and connecting on these similar things. And over the years, that's just been really, really rewarding, because like I'll see things later on social media where people that met, at one of the stand-up shows, they got together and all went bowling and stuff like that. And that's a pretty cool, that's a really cool thing. So I think a lot of times it really is, at the very, very least, and I think it's still very important, it gives people an opportunity to just feel a little less alone.
That
Yeah.
must make you feel really good to know that you have been a catalyst or a provocation, if you will, for folks who come together, like laugh with you at a show, and then build a relationship afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes like I'll see that like on like, because I'll be tagged on Instagram or Twitter or wherever else, and I'll see that, and maybe I didn't even have anything to do that night, and I'm just like, oh man, everyone went bowling, and I didn't get an invite because I don't live in that town, and too bad it's a hike from LA, or I could be there.
One of the things that I often say whenever, like Shane mentioned at the top of the show, both myself, Kali Akuno, Maria Garcia, Camille Kerr, we did an event at Women Building Up, and it really was a fantastic event. And what I often say to folks is, looky here, I don't know whether this event is merely leftist entertainment or whether it's actually community organizing. And that's because tomorrow or the next day, I will leave this town and you will still be here. So it'll be leftist entertainment if you all just go back to your lives and nothing else changes. But it'll be community organizing if you have heard something or said something or been inspired by someone here tonight that has made you do something different and get involved in the movement. And I really mean that. Like, at the end of the day, Ron, nobody's coming to save us, right? Like, it's like, look to your left, look to your right. That's who's going to help you.
I agree 110%. And yeah, I do think that kind of going on that, I'll tell a little anecdote. This goes beyond comedy or anything, but one time I was at this place. It's called Bernie's Coffee Shop in the Los Angeles area, and it's
I've
still
been there.
yeah, it's a cool spot. It's still, I don't know if they're doing anything with it.
No, it's still
right
there.
now.
It's still there.
It is still
They
there,
do
but I
they
don't
do
know.
one-offs. They do one-offs.
Okay, so they do occasional stuff, but one time I was there, and I'm not going to get into like super specifics, but there was a big kind of leftist organizing event, and they were doing a meditation exercise, which was all cool and fine, and everybody was participating in it. And a couple people were walking by, and they didn't know what was going on, but they stopped and they came in and they started looking at some of the literature, and they seemed like they were maybe interested. And the person who was organizing the meditation almost kind of snapped at them and they go, "We're doing a meditation. This is a meditation." And the people were like, okay, like, we're sorry. And my friend who I was with turned to me and goes, "This is why our numbers stay small." And that really resonated with me. And I'm not trying to come down too hard on that person who was just trying to run their meditation. I bring it up more as sort of a like a metaphorical thing where, you know, I think that on the left, and I've been guilty of this in the past, and I'm sure I will be in the future because we're all human. But, you know, I do think we need some messaging work, and we do need to figure out ways to be more inclusive and to kind of, I hate to use this phrase because it's been co-opted, but I can't think of a better one at the moment, widen our tent, because at the end of the day, we need bigger numbers. That's just a fact. Like, you can't ignore that. Like, we need bigger numbers. So, you know,
well, I think one of the ways in which the tent becomes widened is without the divisive language at the same time. It's one thing to sort of try to be exclusive in a way where, you know, it's not like I'm going to hold a leftist meditation event and invite a bunch of maggots, right? I don't know if we can go that far, no matter how you shape the narrative. But at the same time, I shouldn't just invite my Marxist friends. I should also invite some of my liberal-leaning friends who praise capitalism, so we could maybe open up some sense of a dialogue instead of just, well, you're in this camp and I'm in this camp. We're not that, but we're still this. It's too much divisive language happening amongst the left that really does prevent the broadening of the tent, in my opinion.
I agree with that 110%. And you know, the truth of the matter is, look, I mean, I have, you know, similar to yourself, I have some of my, I like to describe them as like left of liberal friends, where they're not quite where I'm at politically, but they're definitely not like, you know, DNC adjacent either. And I really want to get some of those people over on our side.
Right?
You know what I mean? Like, I really want to win those people. So I try to meet them where they're at and then take it from there. And that doesn't mean that we agree 110% on everything. Of course we don't. But I try to like meet them where they're at, where it's like, okay, I get where you're coming from. And you know what I found? A lot of times when you just ask the question, why? You know, sometimes they like because sometimes people are just so they're so conditioned to have this knee-jerk reaction. Well, I know we need capitalism, but, and sometimes if you just say, wait, back up a minute, why do we need capitalism?
Yeah.
And then they'll have an answer, but then you go, is that really capitalism though? I mean, I had that with myself because I had to unlearn it. We all did. I had to unlearn that stuff too, where it's just like, well, I think capitalism is necessary because da. And, you know, and this was a long time ago at this point, but nonetheless, you know, I had a moment where I was like, are those things really because of capitalism though? And I realized that they're not. It's because of the, like we're taught that, oh, wanting to contribute to society wouldn't exist if it wasn't for capitalism. That would be true if we didn't have all of human history that completely negates that. If we just ignored all of human history, that would make sense. But unfortunately, fortunately, that's not the case. It's not like, oh, we would just let everybody starve and nobody would go farm and nobody would do this if it wasn't for capitalism. That's absolute freaking nonsense. Also, like, people think that if you have any type of commerce whatsoever, that it's automatically capitalism. That's also not true. Capitalism just means privatization, profit above all else. Once you don't have that anymore, you technically don't have capitalism. And I
Right.
think we really need to drive that home, because these people, and I'm not trying to like come down too hard on them, because again, this is conditioning. They'll polish the turd and they'll be like, well, when you combine capitalism with socialism, hold up, that's not a frickin' thing. That's
Right.
not a thing. You just don't.
Right.
There's different types of socialism. You're probably thinking about market socialism, which literally has market in the frickin' name. It's not capitalism. It just isn't. You know why? Because the resources are collectively owned and profit's not the bottom line. You don't have capitalism anymore. It's gone. You have people talking about human-centered capitalism. That is not a frickin' thing. That is the opposite of capitalism immediately. Sorry, Andrew Yang. I know it was good for branding and it probably helped your bank account, but it isn't frickin' real. It just isn't real. It's like saying wet fire. It's not a frickin' thing.
I love this kind of, I'm not going to call it a shtick, but like this sort of line of inquiry, because it does actually underscore for me that I think that using humor to talk about serious issues actually makes them more accessible. It's not just that it's funny, it's that it helps to actually look at things from a different perspective.
Absolutely, man. I mean, and look, I mean, we get all the same talking. I mean, here's one I get a lot. Like, oh, well, you say you're not a capitalist, but there's a ticket price to come see you when you come to my town. What's that all about? And I'm like, okay, I don't know. I'm pretty sure there's not any segment in Marx that says that a creative person doesn't have a right to earn a living. I'm pretty
Or
sure
eat.
that,
Ron,
or
Yeah.
eat, you know.
here's the thing. Let's be very clear. Under this current society and this current way of system, they have literally locked up the food. They have commodified
shit.
everything, right?
Yeah.
This is the world that we're living in now. Like, I'm going to speak for myself, and I hope Shane and Ron and viewers would agree with me. I know in my head and my heart the world that I want to live in. And that world doesn't include any hungry children. It doesn't include any hungry people at all. It means it is a playful, loving, compassionate place. It is a place where people's gifts are able to be offered and used. It is a place that is jumping and joyous and happy. It is a good place, but you can't just jump out of the world that you're in now to that world. We've got to have steps along the way. And that's the reason why I think that for this show, we try to make sure to bring in artists and culture workers like yourself, Ron. We bring in community organizers. We bring in folks who are doing worker-owned cooperatives and community land trust. There are ways to get there, but we have to start where we are.
Mm-hmm. Totally, man. And yeah, and just getting back to that example, not to harp on it, but what I always tell people, I'm just like, look, capitalism is not, hey, a performer gets to, earn a sustainable living or get compensated for what they do. Capitalism is stuff like Ticketmaster that monopolizes, the ticketing industry so that there's all kinds of ridiculous fees and it keeps people out. That's what capitalism is. Capitalism is performance venues can't really afford to exist anymore because there's this for-profit middleman in the form of a landlord that's nickel and diming everywhere. So they can barely keep the lights on. So basically no one could really do what they do. I mean, look, and this is especially true when I do shows in LA. Whenever I do shows in LA, and I'm the producer or whatever, I am constantly just going to the mat to try to get the ticket price lower. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want people to have an affordable night out. But the people that are pushing back at me, they're not doing it because they're just like totally greedy in many cases. It's because they're answering.
They're trying to make it pencil out.
And it really sucks that that's the case. And you look in other countries where there's at least like decent arts funding in comparison, and they don't have these problems anywhere near near the extent that we do. They still got the problems. I'm not, there's no utopia, but they just don't have it as much because they properly fund these things. And I think that, like, when you start there, that's how you can kind of just push people away from capitalism, because they're going to realize, like, capitalism has never worked out, except for a handful of a few. Every time it's been tried, it has failed miserably as far as organizing a society. If capitalism was a car, it would break down every 2,000 miles. You call that a lemon. And it has always just led to gross inequality. That's all it's ever led to. And gross disparity.
Or that and
It's never
fascism.
been successful. And fascism. It goes hand in hand with fascism. Absolutely.
Well, we're gonna get to fascism, but before we do, I want to bring in a frequent contributor, Michael Nugent, who asks a very sincere question. He asks, how much can we laugh at ourselves and still be provocative? Is it justifiable when comedians say it's hard to tell controversial jokes? Is there a balance? And then he says, this is a sincere question. And as a comedian, Ron, I want to put that directly to you. How do you try to do that balance?
I make fun of myself all the time. And my thing is, if we can't make fun of ourselves, we have no business making fun of anyone else. I will always make fun of myself. I think that, I'm going to paraphrase a famous quote, and I don't even know who to attribute it to, but it's something along the lines of, great artists take their work seriously, but they don't take themselves too seriously. And I try to live by that. I really do.
Ron, thank you for saying that, because one of the things that I wanted to ask you, I have this sneaking suspicion that I don't really like the answer to, but I kind of feel like the left takes ourselves too seriously.
No idea what you're talking about. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
So I do appreciate, like, there's that ability to be biting, have a little self-deprecating humor. There's something juicy there, isn't there?
Yeah, man, I think so. I mean, it's like sometimes you come across people, and I think it's all across the political spectrums, but we're talking about the left because that's the entity we're part of and trying to foster, where it's just like, some people, they're just so dogmatic about it, and just so like if you just use the wrong word that they didn't approve of, they just kind of jump down your throat. And I mean, I was talking to this person, it was a leftist. They were passing out literature, and they were talking to me, and we were just kind of going back and forth. And it was a very difficult, frustrating conversation. And I wanted to be like, you know what? You are never, ever going to accomplish anything if you keep it up like this, because I know how annoying I find you, and I already agree with you. What do you think it's going to be like for people that aren't quite there yet? They're going to want to walk away like within 30 freaking seconds. And yeah, you just don't win people over that way. You just don't. But I don't think I answered all of Michael's question. Is it justifiable when comedians say it's hard to tell controversial jokes? That depends on the circumstance, man, because I mean, a lot of times you hear comedians, especially these days, going, I'm being censored, and it's hard to talk about these controversial jokes, and then it's like, well, actually, that's not really a joke. You're just you're just going on a spiel about how people won't date you. And you have a problem with transgender people for no frickin' reason. So yeah, it really depends on the situation there, Michael. It depends on the comic claiming such a thing. And it's always interesting to me when some of these comedians claim how much they're being stifled, and then they have specials on the biggest platforms in the frickin' world. It's like, well, who's stifling you? Can those same people stifle me? I would like them to stifle me as well.
Stifling looks pretty
I'd be
good.
very happy if they stifled me as well. It looks like it's going great for you. You're being censored and targeted, one sold out show at a time. So good job. But yeah, so I don't think I don't know. I mean, we've been asked this forever, and it's always ever evolving, but I really don't think there's anything that's off limits. You just have to be funny about it, first of all, and also, like, expect some freaking cultural pushback. If you have some horrible freaking take, which we're seeing this rise in this kind of alt-right comedy thing, And so they get these, online followings on that via like 4chan or whatever else. And then they find that a lot of their general audience doesn't freaking like that point of view that they cry about. It's like, well, what did you expect? Like you're saying these things, you're going to get cultural pushback. And that goes across the board. I know that because I have pretty staunch left-wing views, that is apparent in everything I create. I'm not going to be for everyone. There's certain entities that are probably never going to call me up. I'm fine with that. I made peace with that a long freaking time ago. Does that mean it's hard? I don't know. Again, I got nothing to compare it to. I just know it's what I do. And if people like it, it's there for them. If people leave it, if people don't like it, they can leave it. And if I'm not just honest and true to myself, well, then I'm wasting everybody's time. So might as well do what it is, right?
Ron, one of the things that you're bringing up for me is like the difference between punching up or punching down. And I'm going to invite you to either correct my thinking or just react to it. But I seem like these so-called right wing or 4chan kind of folks are literally creating jokes that are targeting people with significantly less social power and privilege than they have to begin with, as opposed to the punching up in the like Punch and Judy tradition, where you're actually undermining or at least making fun of people who are already in positions of power or with great authority. I mean, there really is a fundamental difference there, right?
I think so. Yeah. And Carlin spoke about it a long freaking time ago. And this has always been, the way it's the way it's been is you're always supposed to punch up. And I don't see how it's, punching up when you're just going after a marginalized group of people doing just the same recycled perspective. I mean, and I'm one of these people too. I don't think any topic is necessarily off limits. It's just all about the execution.
Right.
I talk about pretty much everything in the zeitgeist. I talk about social issues, political issues, all that. And I do it in a way that that's coming from my perspective. So it's not like, oh, you can't do jokes about XYZ. No, you totally can. It's just all about your execution. And I think a lot of times, if you're being honest, your moral compass shines through. And sometimes that moral compass is not great. Like sometimes that moral compass is, oh, I just have a problem with this group of people. Well, not a lot of folks are going to find that funny.
Right.
And the ones that do, well, your audience
They're
is going to be
bullies.
a mirror. Yeah.
Check out Dave L. I thought this was an insightful observation. Marx was a relentless insult comic. There's some truth to that. A wry observation, Dave L. Looky here. I do want to actually get serious about fascism. Like, let's be clear. Like, that is, like, as one of our other commenters said, fascism really isn't very funny, right?
No.
It's not one bit, as Dan Seeley says, which is a good moniker to use, by the way. But I would argue that fascism really thrives on a combination of fear and conformity, and comedy is uniquely poised to break that spell.
It should be. I mean, one of the things we're seeing right now in our contemporary moment is we're seeing a lot of well, not a lot, but we're seeing comedians that have just willingly helped usher in a straight up fascist coup. They do shows on behalf of Trump. They have this certain point of view. There is this big kind of alt-right contingent online that they're happy to play the fiddle for. And it's very sad to see. And there's also, unfortunately, a rich history in that. I mean, we talk about, some of the, the court gesture, and we're talking about Bill Hicks and George Carlin and all these things. And yeah, that was part of it too. But there was also another underbelly, especially with contemporary stand-up comedy in the United States. The podcast Behind the Bastards did a deep dive into this. I think there was a guy, I think it was like something Faye was the guy's name. I forget the guy's name. Like I recognize the name when they said it, but it was basically the guy that led to what we know as contemporary American stand-up eventually. And he quite literally became a fascist. He, quite literally, back in the day, he was a fascist. So, as much as we have all these things to celebrate in comedy, what's going on now, to some extent, there's a tradition in that too, where comedy, kind of joins the powerful. Instead of being the David going after Goliath, they go, I might want to join up with Goliath. That seems like the thing to do. There is history in that. And I think that we are seeing a lot of that today. That's why when the whole thing happened with the Saudi Arabia thing, I honestly wasn't surprised. And everyone was like, "Can you believe this?" Yes, I can. Yes, I can believe it. I can. I mean, how many comedians just help bring about fascism in their own country? And you're surprised they wouldn't have any hesitation to go somewhere else? And then you hear people justifying it like, well, if somebody offered me like a couple $1 million, blah blah blah, and I was like, yeah, okay, well, what if you had a couple $1 million already? Would you still,
Right?
I mean, it's like that. That's not really. It's not really. It's just not really a relevant point. Is what I'm saying. But yeah. So I think that's something that's happening.
Ron, listen, we're 3/4 of the way through this show, and I really want to get to your new film, Left at Wall. So I know that we've got the trailer. Is there anything that you want to do to set it up, or should we just play the trailer and then we'll chop it up a bit?
Yeah, go ahead. Play the trailer.
Let's play. Shane, you ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
Hit it.
So you must want to talk about something if you came all the way here. What's up?
I'm going to propose.
No way. Certainly don't think of it as something where you kind of have to outdo what Tiffany and I did. We had such a big wedding because it means nothing to us. Her family has money. I have a ton of money.
Don, can we not talk about money right now?
Well, why else are you telling me this?
Because you're my brother.
So, I'm a writer. My brother Don is on Wall Street. They basically created a casino out of our economy.
No, we're short selling the stock, which is financial jargon for, you probably wouldn't understand.
I bet I would.
It's just you guys so hard on each other.
What the hell do you mean you don't know how to make an old-fashioned? How about this? Let me behind the bar. I'll make the old-fashioned myself.
Give me a break, pal. Does this place look like we make old fashions?
I just can't do this anymore. I think we need a break.
What?
So there I was. No girlfriend, no work, no agent. Was this rock bottom? And that's when I got an idea. Dude, Game Bites. We all need to buy shares of it.
I lost a lot because of these idiot hackers.
Well, they're not hackers, but this isn't about you, Don. This is bigger. This is about sticking up to this corrupt system and actually fighting back for once.
Oh, shut up, John.
Ron, looky here. There's a lot there, and I want to get into some of it. But first of all, can I just say, you got Eddie Pepitone.
Oh, I love Eddie, man. Eddie, I got extremely lucky. When I wrote Left at Wall, thank you so much, Gloria, by the way. And I had so much fun doing that screening with the Green Party. But when I wrote Left at Wall, I kind of had my wish list and I got crazy lucky and got everybody. I mean, it was a reasonably realistic wish list. It's not like I was like, Brad Pitt's going to play the lead. But, I thought about my peers and some of my colleagues, and I was like, oh, man, Eddie would make an amazing bartender. I wanted Gareth Reynolds to play my brother. I just thought I wasn't totally set on playing the lead guy, but eventually I came around to, I think I'm going to play the guy because that Ron Placone asshole never have to pay that dude. That's the big. That's why Ron Placone keeps getting cast in my stuff. I don't have to pay him.
He's lucky to work, that guy.
Yeah,
Placone,
that guy.
He's lucky to get a gig.
He's a sucker.
He's
That's
always
what
in budget.
He is. Yeah, he's always in budget. Yes, I'm gonna put that on my website.
So
always in budget for his stuff.
Look here, Ron. I'm going to ask you to thread the needle a little bit without giving too much away, because I do want people to go see Left at Wall. What message are you hoping people walk away with?
There is no ethical consumption under capitalism, but that's not a reason not to try. That's really, if you
Fuck.
had to
All right,
sum it up.
you were ready for
That's-
that question.
Yeah,
You were
9
sitting
words or
on that.
less.
Well,
You
the
were
film-
sitting on that.
The film's been out a
It's a
minute,
film.
dude.
Yeah.
It's been
Let
out
me
a
give you-
minute.
Listen, for real though, like you have made this. Speaking of how capitalism and commodifies things, you've actually made this available to people.
Oh yeah, it's out there. I mean, you can watch it. It's on Apple TV, it's on Amazon, it's on YouTube Movies, it's on Google Play. My favorite platform is Tubi, so I recommend Tubi. Watch it wherever it's convenient for you, but Tubi is really cool because Tubi is free.
So I want you to say a word about Tubi though, because I've heard you actually say that before, that you actually prefer that platform. So I want to give you a chance to explain why you have that position.
I mean, it's not like some like significant thing. I just think out of all the streamers, Tubi's the one that's kind of, I don't want to say like of the people, but comparatively so. Like it's a little less corporate than some of the other ones in comparison. They are investing in some original content, and you can just see some cool and interesting stuff there. Just as a consumer, I kind of like Tubi, and also I just wanted. It's hard to. We all pay for 1 billion streaming services because we're nickel and dimed on everything. So I just really wanted my movie to be available for free, which, you know, and we still get compensated via the ads. So it's not like, oh, well, you know, so I just prefer it. I think it's just the best way to watch movies. I'm glad my movie's available there. And yeah, but yeah, Left at Wall is out now.
So Left at Wall, one of the things that I really want to lift up, and again, without being sycophantic to you, there's both a visual and emotional depth there. And it really feels like you are intentionally trying to balance both satire and sincerity. Like, am I, do you know what I'm getting at here?
No, you totally are. And, you know, again, without giving anything away, but yeah, Left at Wall is a story about family. It's about 2 feuding brothers, and people probably picked up, oh, this kind of nods to the GameStop thing that happened. And yes, it does. It is a totally fictional story. It's not technically based on that because our story is completely fictional, but it creates a similar event in a fictional world and kind of uses that as the backdrop. When the GameStop thing happened in 2021, it was peculiar to me how nobody kind of took like an anti-capitalist stance on all of it, because it really did show just how Wall Street controls our society, like how these financial markets really dictate everything and how fragile and just faulty they really are. And so, you know, we kind of told the story from that perspective. We use the backdrop of 2 feuding brothers, and that's what Left at Wall is all about. And at the end of the day, you know, there's that whole like, what's the story about? What's the story really about? Well, what's Left at Wall about? All right, what's a political satire where a socialist writer brother is trying to fight back against the Wall Street machine by thwarting his older brother's short sale attempt? What's it really about? Well, it's really about family. You know, like
Right.
It's really about just the dynamic of family.
And anybody like me who has brothers, plural, will get that right off the bat. Like,
yeah,
everything is a backdrop to actually about whatever happened to you as kids.
Yeah, totally, man. Which is, it's cool.
Doesn't Freud say something similar?
No, it's really cool too, because I've gotten a lot of that from people, especially like people with brothers and stuff. And interestingly enough, I do not have a brother in real life. I have a younger sister, and we get along really well. Like our relationship is nothing like the characters in the movie, but you know, it was really fun to, you know, write those conflicts. And even though a lot of them did not apply to me directly, a lot of them applied to me indirectly. Like they were kind of based on things that I've seen over the years, you know, like just from real people. So yeah, that's I guess to answer your question even longer. Yeah, that's definitely deliberate. It's definitely intentional.
I'm very keen that we're running out of time with you, Ron. So I do want to make this observation, because you said very astutely earlier that how corporate media is really controlling the narrative. And yet you and others are fiercely independent. Are you seeing a movement towards more independent, politically conscious art? Are you sort of out in the wilderness? Like, what's your current read there?
Well, I think that, I mean, Man, that question could be answered so many different ways. But just from the perspective of, my world and this world, I think a lot of stuff is independent because it has to be. Like a lot of stuff, it's like, a film like Left at Wall would never get purchased by a major studio for a number of reasons, the topic matter just being one of them. And so if you want to make a film like that, you have to figure out a way to make it yourself. Same with Termination Fee, which is the next one that I got coming out. So I think a lot of times it's like we're independent because that's just the lay of the land. And same goes with media. I mean, corporate media is very, very rigid, and it continues to get worse and worse and worse. You're not going to hear an honest story about climate change because the fossil fuel industry advertises. You're not going to hear an honest story about war and peace because, defense industry advertises, which is such a blatant, it's so blatant corruption. Like why does the defense industry advertise on cable news? The average person is not in the market for a new tank. It's not a freaking thing, but they do it because they want favorable coverage, and that's exactly what they freaking get. So, a place like the United States especially needs a thriving independent media landscape. Whether or not we have one, that's up for dispute. But, I try to do my part to, help that along. I think we all do. And
Well,
that's
and
just kinda
Ron,
where
I
we're
do.
at.
I'm going to use this opportunity to remind people that you're listening and or watching this on Democracy at Work's platform. We are a non-corporately filtered source of information, political content. And Ron, you're doing both creative entertainment and political consciousness without the gatekeepers. I mean, there's something really interesting to me about you as a comedian, as a storyteller, as a filmmaker, outside of the gatekeeper of it all. Like that's got to have its own both challenges, but also its joys associated with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool because it's like I don't. It's not like every single script I write I'm able to make. Like I don't have like a limitless supply of money, unfortunately, and it takes resources to make these things. But it is really cool, that I've been able to make some things, and I want to continue to do that because I just really freaking enjoy it. And yeah, so that's just what I do. That's just where it's at. Like I knew I wanted to create this type of content. I never thought I'd get really into making films, but I kind of got bit by the bug with Left at Wall, and I'm kind of glad it's part of things now. And there's a million different ways to get things made these days. So, I just encourage people to do it, and not to get too insider baseball, but it's like the industry, especially here in Los Angeles, is just eating its own tail. So if you're waiting for permission, no matter what, regardless whether you're talking about anti-capitalist content or anything else, it doesn't matter what you're talking about. If you're waiting for permission, you're probably going to be waiting indefinitely. So to me, that just sounds really freaking boring.
Well, Ruthie and anybody who really knows me well knows that one of my favorite words is penultimate. So I have a penultimate question, which of course will precede the final question. But the penultimate question is, what's giving you hope right now? And it really is a serious question. Looking out there at all the awfulness of it all.
That did not sound good.
What's giving you hope?
Yeah, no, I do. Here's what gives me hope, and this is the freaking truth. What gives me hope is, first of all, I think Gen Z is really freaking badass. I love what Gen Z is up to. I think they are the first generation where capitalism is a dirty word, and that's commonly accepted. Not amidst everybody, obviously, but I think like as a generation, they are like the first generation to just be like, no, this is not good. I think that's a positive sign. I find my hope in movements. I find my hope in gathering. I find some hope in the general strike that's happening in Italy right now. That is where I find my hope. I find my hope in the flotilla and future flotillas. I find my hope in union efforts. I find my hope in any and all striking efforts. I find my hope in legitimate climate efforts that hasn't been corrupted. that is where I find my hope.
Hope and resistance. I love it. A litany of them. And since that was the penultimate question, the ultimate question, I would be remiss if I didn't say, hey, Ron Placone, you got any bits that you're working on now that you can play with us a little bit? I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot, but you are Ron Placone.
Well, I'm working on my next hour now, which is going to be called Anti-Fascist Pasta Night, which
I love it already.
Well, I thought it was the safest title one can go with. Pasta, hell yeah. Fascism, no thanks. You would think, but in the United States, that actually means you're potentially a terrorist. So it'll be, so it'll be interesting unrolling this hour. But it's gonna be my next hour. So I'm working on that now. Pasta is actually an anti-fascist food. It has an anti-fascist history because Mussolini tried to ban it in his Italy. He banned pasta or tried to make people not eat pasta. And they said, we don't like this. That doesn't sound good at all. Then he said, also, I'm banning coffee. And then they said, we're going to kill you now. So there's a little more to it than that, but you get the gist of it.
I think you did skip some of the intermediary stuff.
There was some other stuff. But Cliff Notes.
Look here, Ron, I'm gonna close it out with saying it is an honor to be an enemy of the state with you. It is an honor to be on the same list as you. And I want to say again,
can I tell people where they can find this stuff real quick? Is that okay?
That's literally what I'm going to say is I want you to where can folks get more Ron Placone?
Thank you. I appreciate that. And thanks so much for having me, man. I'm a big fan. Great to come on here. And you can check out my movie, Left at Wall. It's on a bunch of the platforms. If you got a smart TV, just type in Left at Wall. All the ways to see it are available. But Apple TV, Amazon, YouTube Movies. You can buy it on DVD for the physical media folks out there. You can watch it on Tubi, and it's free on Tubi. You can go to my website, ronplacone.com, and it lists all the way you can watch it. It also lists my tour dates. I am Ron Placone on all the platforms, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Substack. I do have a Substack. I'm just Ron Placone there. So, Ron Placone on all the platforms. RonPlacone.com is my website. Left at Wall is the movie. And, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me.
Ron Placone, all Ron Placone all the time. Look at here, y'all. Thank you for being a member and or supporter of Redneck Gone Green. Remember, the only reason this community is growing is because of you. So I'm going to ask you, as everybody does, please like, comment, share, subscribe, do all those things. And I know that everybody says it, but you know why they say it? Because it's the only way we're going to get out of the algorithm. It's the only way. We do not pay any money in order to promote this stuff. And as you well know, if you want to throw some shekels into the box, we're appreciative of it, but we don't put anything behind a paywall here at Redneck Gone Green. So please do your part to help grow this audience. Please join us next Monday, October 20th, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. Our guest will be Dr. Butch Ware. He is a historian. He is a Black Muslim, and he is also running for governor of California. Should be a great show. Thanks for what you're doing. Keep on keeping on. Can't stop, won't stop. Peace.